The Foundations of Apostasy and the Nullifiers of Islam. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, and peace and blessings be upon the Messenger of Allah, his family, companions, and all who follow him. As for what follows, I have considered compiling the nullifiers of Tawheed and Sunnah in a somewhat comprehensive manner, presenting them in paragraph form to encompass many examples, avoiding excessive length and aiming for brevity. The reason for this compilation is that I have not found anyone who has written about it in a way that is sufficient and satisfying. Most of those who have written on the subject have not done so commendably. The famous treatise written by Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Najdi, The 10 Nullifiers of Islam, does not do justice to this subject, not even half or even a quarter of it, as it contains significant deficiencies and errors in some of its texts. As for the book Al-A'lam bi Qawati' al-Islam, its author Al-Haytami was a staunch Jahmi, and he has made many strange and astonishing errors in it. Another book, The Verbal and Practical Nullifiers of the Faith, by a pseudo-Salafi Najdi scholar Abdul Latif, is a malicious book following the methodology of the Jahmiyyah and Murji'ah. It occurred to me not to include a detailed enumeration of evidence and reports so that this compilation could be easily shared and brought to the attention of the public. Make it easier to circulate on social media. This would allow the people of Sunnah to explain it to their families and children. We hope that Allah will benefit us through it and benefit our brothers, the people of Tawheed, Sunnah, and Athar. I mentioned around 70 various nullifiers. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu indicated this number. We do not need to arrange them here, as all the nullifiers are equal in terms of taking a Muslim out of Islam and into disbelief. They only differ in rank based on the severity and intensity of the disbelief. Major disbelief has ascending levels, and even the lowest level nullifies Islam. This is why I did not organize them in any specific order. At times, I may mention a nullifier that falls under a general nullifier previously mentioned, but I do so because of its importance, giving it special attention. First nullifier, associating partners with Allah in His Lordship, Rububiyyah, such as believing that He has partners in creation, management, or control over creation. There are many forms and manifestations of this type of shirk, polytheism, such as atheism, shirk, and Sufism, and similar practices. Second nullifier, cursing Allah, mocking Him, or engaging in indirect insults and belittling Him or anything of that nature. Third nullifier, shirk in speech, such as invoking someone other than Allah for something that only Allah has power to do. This includes many examples like calling upon the dead, seeking help from them, or making vows to them, whether calling directly upon the deceased or asking them for intercession, whether the one being invoked is a king, a prophet, a saint, a grave, a stone, or a tree. The gravest form of this shirk and disbelief is claiming divinity or lordship. Fourth nullifier, associating partners with Allah in actions that are exclusively for His worship, such as prostrating or bowing to someone other than Him, offering sacrifices for others beside Him, or circumambulating graves and shrines, and acts of such kind. These are acts of shirk, and there are many examples of such practices. Fifth nullifier, practicing magic in all its forms, such as divination, astrology, and similar activities. Engaging in it, being pleased with it, teaching it, or believing in what the practitioners of magic bring forth are all the same in being nullifiers. Sixth nullifier, believing that anyone other than Allah knows the unseen, or that Allah does not know what will happen until it occurs, or that He only knows generalities and not specifics, or anything similar to this belief. Seventh nullifier, denying any aspect of the unseen world that has been affirmed by Islamic law, such as the last day, the existence of angels, jinn, devils, the resurrection, or the saying that souls are reincarnated, or denying the existence of heaven and hell, divine decree, and similar beliefs. Eighth nullifier, killing the messengers and prophets, or cursing them, or harming them, or mocking them, or denying the message they brought from Allah and doubting it, or hating anything that they conveyed. Ninth nullifier, rejecting the universality of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's message, or denying that he is the final prophet. 10th nullifier, believing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam concealed something from what Allah revealed to him, though he was commanded to convey it, or that he delivered the message to some Muslims and withheld it from others. 11th nullifier, distorting the names of Allah, deviating regarding them, or claiming that they refer to entities other than Allah, or that they are created or newly invented. This includes saying that the name is identical to the entity, or that the name is different from the entity, and similar erroneous beliefs. 12th nullifier, negating or misinterpreting Allah's attributes, or denying some or all of them, or disbelieving in them, or trusting their apparent meaning, rather their hownness, kayfiyya, or comparing them to the attributes of creation. Whether one misinterprets all of them or just one, there is no difference. 13th nullifier, claiming ignorance of an attribute of Allah that is known innately through natural disposition, fitrah, and reason, such as His life, power, hearing, sight, exaltation, al-ulu, and knowledge, or any similar attributes. 14th nullifier, rejecting, denying, or disbelieving in an attribute of Allah that has been clearly established through revelation, whether this attribute has been affirmed by the Quran, the Sunnah, or a report from a companion, Sahabi, or a Tabi'i, follower of the Sahaba, upon which there is consensus, such as the virtue of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being given the praise station, Maqam al-Mahmud, by Allah on the Day of Judgment, i.e. sitting of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam beside Allah on His throne. 15th nullifier, saying that the Quran is created, or that it is merely an expression or representation of using similar interpretive terms, or claiming that the recitation of the Quran is created, or refraining from saying whether it is created or uncreated, tawaqquf, or hesitating or doubting about the Quran, or denying the attribute of Allah's speech, including the belief that His speech does not involve letters or sound. All of these are the same in being nullifiers. 16th nullifier, denying Allah's attribute or exaltation, al-ulu, or denying that Allah has a direction, place, position, or border, head. 17th nullifier, claiming that faith, al-iman, is created. 18th nullifier, excusing polytheists for clear and major acts of disbelief, for which the early scholars did not demand explanation. This includes giving excuses based on ignorance, udhr bil jahl, or interpretation, ta'wil, or imitation, taqlid, or any other invalid excuses. 19th nullifier, not declaring the heretics and atheists as disbelievers, or doubting or hesitating to declare them as such. This includes groups like the Al-Jahmiyyah, Al-Ash'ariyah, Al-Sufiyya, their supporters and followers of deviant apostate sects such as the Ikhwan and Tabligh groups, Al-Mu'tazila, the Rafida, liberalists, secularists, and similar groups. 20th nullifier, cursing the companions, Sahaba, declaring them disbelievers, mocking them, or questioning their integrity. 21st nullifier, cursing Shaykhain Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhuma, or declaring them disbelievers and defaming them is considered pure heresy. 22nd nullifier, cursing Aisha or any of the mother of the believers radiallahu anhunna ajma'in. 23rd nullifier, denying or defaming a sound hadith while knowing it is authentic and being aware of the scholars of hadith affirming its authenticity. 24th nullifier, loving disbelievers, supporting them, aiding them against Muslims, and taking them as allies. 25th nullifier, criticizing or mocking the people of Tawheed, Sunnah, Hadith, and Athar, or giving them derogatory labels, or accusing them of being Khawarij, extremists, or terrorists, or criminalizing the act of declaring polytheists as disbelievers, criminalizing jihad, allegiance and disavowal, enjoining good and forbidding evil. This also includes opposing the callers to Tawheed by killing or imprisoning or torturing or expelling them or preventing them from calling to Tawheed. 26 Nullifier. Enacting man-made laws like democracy or socialism, or legislating them or ruling by them, and abandoning the ruling of the Sharia. This also includes excusing those who implement such laws and not declaring them disbelievers. There is no difference between those who enact such laws, those who rule by them, those who accept them, and those who elect others to rule by them. 27th Nullifier. Denying matters that have been established by numerous texts and the consensus of the early scholars, including core beliefs and practices of Islam. This includes denying the 6 fundamentals of faith, or the 5 pillars of Islam, or any of the essential beliefs of Ahl Sunnah, such as denying intercession, ash-shafa'ah, or seeing the face of Allah, ar-ru'ya, or the throne of Allah, al-arsh, or his face, or his footstool, al-kursi, or the bridge, al-sirat, or the basin, al-hawd, or the scale, al-mizan, or denying the punishment and trial of the grave, and the 2 angels, Munkar and Nakir, or anything else recorded in the agreed upon principles of Sunnah. 28th Nullifier. Denying the obligation of something known by necessity to be part of the religion, such as the 5 daily prayers, zakah, fasting, hajj, or the obligation of hijab, or regular sunnah practices, or the Eid prayers. Also denying the prohibition of alcohol or adultery, or the consumption of pork, or the obligation of hijab and modest covering for women, or denying the prohibition of carrion and blood. These are just examples of many things that are known by necessity. 29th Nullifier. Believing in the unity of religions, or that it is possible to bring them closer together, or downplaying the seriousness of this issue. 30th Nullifier. Similar to this, it is the belief in absolute religious freedom and belief in unrestricted freedoms. 31st Nullifier. Saying that the laws of Allah are not suitable for this time, or telling someone who follows Islam and the Sunnah that they are backward or outdated, or using similar phrases. 32nd Nullifier. Claiming that religion has no connection to the state or the affairs of life, or that the teachings of Islam are incompatible with the modern era, or that Islam is the reason for the backwardness of Muslims or Muslim countries. This also includes saying it is permissible to abandon the fundamentals of the religion, or using similar statements. 33rd Nullifier. Being content with disbelief, or intending to commit disbelief, or requesting to engage in disbelief even if one doesn't act on it, or making one's disbelief contingent upon a future event. 34th Nullifier. Permitting what is unanimously agreed upon as forbidden, or the opposite, or obeying people in making something lawful or unlawful. This is considered shirk in obedience and disbelief in Allah. There is no difference between someone who directly permits the forbidden or does so through deceitful means. The one using deceit is more severely disbelieving. An example of this is the Book of Tricks, Kitab al-Hiyal, known among the Hanafis. Its author, practitioner, those who are pleased with it, and those who issues fatwas based on it, and as well as those who carry it, are considered disbelievers, as the early scholars have said. 35th Nullifier. Denying the application of Islamic legal punishments, hudud, or rejecting any of them, such as stoning or the punishment for theft or adultery, on the grounds that they are harsh or violent or contrary to human rights, and similar arguments. 36th Nullifier. Believing in the concept of the unity of existence, wahdatul wujud, or the doctrines of incarnation, al-hulul, or annihilation, al-fana, or unification, al-ittihad, or believing that Allah is in every place, or denying the border had of Allah. All of these are considered the same in being nullifiers. 37th nullifier, abandoning the prayer and delaying it until the time for the third prayer enters, without a valid excuse, as this is the view of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Imam Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. This constitutes disbelief. Similarly, someone who says, I will pray the obligatory prayer tomorrow, or prays without ablution, or intentionally prays in a direction other than the Qibla, or prays while knowingly in a state of impurity. 38th nullifier, withholding zakah and refusing to pay it, and fighting against those who enforced its collection. 39th nullifier, acquiring the nationality of disbelievers by choice and agreement, especially when it involves adhering to conditions that entail disbelief. 40th nullifier, denying even a single letter of the Quran or rejecting any part of it or disbelieving that it has been added to or that parts have been removed. Also believing that the Quran has an outward and hidden meaning, where the hidden meaning contradicts the outward meaning, and that this hidden meaning is known only to certain people. 41st nullifier, mocking the religion or mocking Allah, His signs, His messengers, His angels, or His books in any form, whether through speech, action, or gestures, indicating ridicule or mockery. 42nd nullifier, denying predestination, qadr, or disbelieving in it, or denying Allah's knowledge, will, or the writing of destiny. 43rd nullifier, completely abandoning obligatory acts of worship, or what some refer to as abandoning the entire category of actions. 44th nullifier, marrying one's father's wife or contracting a marriage with her or with any of one's prohibited relatives. While believing it to be permissible, this constitutes disbelief. 45th nullifier, claiming prophethood or believing in someone who claims to be a prophet. 46th nullifier, sitting in a gathering or disbelief while being able to either object or withdraw or leave but choosing not to do so. 47th nullifier, wearing items that are specifically associated with the religious symbols of disbelievers, such as a cross or a Zoroastrian hat, or trying a religious belt around the waist, or anything else that is specific to their religious rituals, while knowingly and intentionally doing so. 48th nullifier, participating in the worship or religious rituals of disbelievers, such as their prayers or similar acts. 49th nullifier, destroying Islamic landmarks such as demolishing masajid due to the worship being performed in them, or constructing places of worship for disbelievers or assisting them in doing so, such as building churches or similar establishments. 50th nullifier, claiming that paradise or hell or either of them or anything within them will eventually cease to exist, or claiming that they have not yet been created. 51st nullifier, saying that faith is a recognition, ma'rifah, or only an expression. 52nd nullifier, claiming that disbelief only occurs through rejection, or that acts and words of disbelief are not themselves disbelief, but are merely signs of disbelief. 53rd nullifier, leaving the ranks of Muslims and joining the side of their enemies in war. 54th nullifier, disrespecting the symbols of Islam in any way, such as desecrating a masjid, or insulting the call to prayer or its scholars, or disrespecting the Quran or similar actions. 55th nullifier, protecting places of shirk, polytheism, graves, shrines, or idolatrous temples, or protecting man-made laws that contradict Islam. This includes working as a guardian or protector or fighter or defender of these places or laws, either with pen or speech or hand or weapon. 56th nullifier, pointing to a Muslim and accusing them of apostasy, or forcing them into disbelief, or refusing to offer the testimony of faith to a non-Muslim who seeks to become Muslim without a valid reason for doing so. 57th nullifier, claiming that a disbeliever will enter paradise, or doubting their punishment and eternal dwelling in hell, using the argument of Ahlul Fitrah, those who lived in a time without revelation. 58th nullifier, saying that disbelievers such as Jews, Christians, or Zoroastrians will be released from hell is an act of disbelief and apostasy. 59th nullifier, claiming that prophethood is taken away from the prophets after their death. 60th nullifier, doubting or hesitating about the burial place of the Prophet ﷺ, or saying, I don't know whether the Prophet was a human or a jinn, and doubting this. 61st nullifier, acknowledging the obligation of Hajj, but saying, I don't know where Mecca is, or where the Kaaba is, or where the place is that people face and make pilgrimage to. 62nd nullifier, wishing or asking Allah to make one a prophet or a king, or wishing that Allah had not forbidden injustice, adultery, or unjust killing. All of this is disbelief. 63rd nullifier, saying that prophethood can be acquired or earned. 64th nullifier, claiming that Allah did not speak directly to Musa alayhi salam, or that he did not take Ibrahim alayhi salam as a close friend. 65th nullifier, if a disbeliever says the two testimonies of faith but then says, I did not intend to become Muslim. 66th nullifier, saying about the Quran that the utterance or recitation or voice or sound and the various divisions and details of these are created, this belief is considered disbelief. 67th nullifier, claiming that events and created beings have an infinite regress, that they have no beginning, is pure apostasy. 68th nullifier, choosing to refer to or judge by man-made tyrannical systems without compulsion or as a means of defending oneself from accusation or coercion. 69th nullifier, joining or affiliating with institutions of disbelief, where disbelief, magic, astrology, atheism, or similar subjects are taught, or sending one's children to such institutions. 70th nullifier, excusing entire nations or individuals who are disbelievers is the same. Excusing nations from their disbelief implies denying the previous nullifiers or their widespread nature of disbelief, whether one admits it or not. 71st nullifier, disliking or rejecting a legitimate Islamic ruling simply because it contradicts one's desires even unknowingly. Examples include a woman disliking the ruling on polygamy or disliking the prohibition of gender mixing. There are many similar examples. 72nd nullifier, claiming affiliation or identification with anything other than the religion of Islam, even in anger, like someone saying, I am Jewish or I am Christian. 73rd nullifier, preferring anything from the religion of the disbelievers over Islam, or preferring any part of it. 74th nullifier, openly showing agreement with disbelief without being under compulsion. 75th nullifier, claiming that the prophets or one of them followed the religion of their polytheistic people, or believing that they were not upon monotheism. Notes: the Najdiyun, followed by some contemporary scholars, have mentioned a nullifier they call the nullifier of turning away. However, this is not considered a nullifier in itself. Rather, turning away is a cause that leads to disbelief, but it is not disbelief on its own. Turning away from learning can cause someone to fall into one of the previously mentioned types of disbelief. Thus, none of the early scholars included it among the nullifiers of Islam or apostasy. So pay attention to this point, and it is not appropriate to follow those who list it as such. The discussion here pertains to number 2. The discussion here pertains to the ruling on saying or doing something that falls under these nullifiers. There may be additional details or exceptions in some cases, and such clarification will be found in the explanation. This is what I was able to mention in this brief time, and all praise is due to Allah for its completion. I hope that the brothers will contact us privately and remind us of anything we have forgotten, overlooked, or any important restrictions we may have missed. With Allah, success.